I can't believe that since the start of this channel, I have yet to talk about Pixar. I think it's about time we change that. I can't be the self-proclaimed animation guy on YouTube if I haven't talked about Pixar. And trust me, I do love my Pixar. Hey guys, what's going on? It is me, Punky Yoshi, or Roberto. Welcome back to another video. Coming in hot with the new webcam. What do you guys think? How do I look? I didn't know much about this show, other than the few advertisements I saw on Instagram. But other than that, I went into the show completely blind. Honestly, I do think it's the best way to watch this show, but I don't think it's reaching the biggest audience it could. I do think it's because of the demographic of the series and where Pixar is heading. And I was gonna make a fall off of Pixar video, but if it's cool with y'all, I'll just explain it right now. As a fan of the golden age of Pixar, which lasted from Toy Story to Toy Story 3, it's evident that these new shows and movies are not catered to us. A clear example of this is them full sprinting and not looking back at this new art style that's found in Turning Red, Luca, Elio, and this new series, Win or Lose, all falling under the same umbrella. But don't get me wrong, that's not a bad thing. You just have to be aware, if you're going into the series, that you are not the target demographic. Unless you're like under 18 years old. I am used to it because to this day, I am able to rewatch shows like SpongeBob, Adventure Times, I can go to the movies and watch Dogman, or I can even enjoy some new Gen Alpha shows like Teen Titans Go without breaking a sweat. I know I'm considered a rare breed, but it has actually helped me develop a taste in shows that I watch to this day, and has been proven helpful because I'm able to create these YouTube videos for you guys. I consider it a gift at this point. But in terms of Win or Lose, they do occasionally put in some very interesting topics and enough juice for us adults to keep going and keep watching, which we'll get into when we talk about the episodes themselves. But those days of Pixar being the technological and industry leaders of animation are long gone. Although I do still see it in them, with movies like Coco, Inside Out 2, and even some aspects of Elemental. They are able to create these amazing original stories and take them to the same heights that the golden age of Pixar had. So other than the new gen animation that Win or Lose has, what else does it have to offer? So I didn't see any marketing for Win or Lose, probably because of the horrific mess that Elemental was. But I didn't know that Win or Lose is actually an anthology series, which actually had me geeking out for a little bit. For those of you who don't know what an anthology is, it's a story captured by the perspective of different characters. Their storylines and conclusions usually coming all together by the end of the story. Some famous examples of anthologies are Black Mirror, American Horror Story, Fantasia, and Trick or Treat. For a semi-accurate example of a popular series coming out right now, White Lotus is a semi-anthology because every season has a new set of entirely different characters. As a writer myself, I love it when writers use non-traditional, non-linear forms of storytelling. Disney themselves have done this already. Star Wars made a series called Visions, Disney Animation is making an anthology called Zootopia Plus, and Pixar now has Win or Lose. When I first watched this episode, I didn't know it was an anthology series, so I thought Lori was going to be our main character throughout the season. But to my surprise, when episode 2 started, it shifts focus, and I was so happy. Not because I didn't like Lori, I think she would have served fine as a protagonist, but I just think this is a fresh new way of storytelling and something that Pixar desperately needed. So episode 1 starts with Frankie seemingly getting bodied by a baseball, and then a little kid narrates to us that with every winner, there will always be a loser on the other side. Which is actually a pretty deep concept that I think about regularly. Who knew that a Pixar series would get me thinking metaphysical? But seriously, every time you queue up Marvel Rivals comp match, there will be a losing team on the other side. Which is kinda depressing when you think about it. We can't all win. It's also the reason why growing up I've never been super competitive myself. I've always found the joy in the game and not to win. With that being said, I've never been put into a really competitive situation other than my gaming, and I was in volleyball during high school, which actually helped me relate to the show more than I thought I was going to. The first episode follows Lori, a young girl on the softball team who happens to be kinda dog water at softball, but continues to play because she wants to prove herself to her team and her father in the process, who happens to be the team coach. She is so extremely anxiety ridden about playing softball that her mind manifests a gray sludge monster that lingers in her body and talks to her. Let's just take a second and talk about how good Pixar is to conceptualize mental disorders like sweaty and anxiety from Inside Out 2. It's just so well done and makes it super easy for children of all ages to understand these very complex emotions that would otherwise be really hard to explain. I actually had the official poster for Inside Out 2, but my sister asked if she could have it to give it to the elementary school nurse so that she can put it in her office to teach kids about emotions. And I was very happy to give it up. I hope it's there for a very long time. But Sweaty the sludge monster gets super massive on the days leading up to the big game, ultimately reaching its biggest manifestation when Lori goes up to bat, only to be interrupted by her dad. He then tells her that it's never been about being the best, it's about trying your best. Which is honestly a great message for kids in my opinion. Then she gets bodied by the ball from the beginning. I actually ended up relating to this episode more than I thought I would. He would be embarrassed if I mentioned his name, but I had a friend in volleyball who ended up messing up during a very important buzzer beater moment. And I saw this moment break him. I will never forget this moment. But I think it was a very important life lesson that he and I learned too. That in life, we are bound to lose a lot. The second episode shifts focus to Frank, who, I had to look this up because I'm uneducated, but he's the umpire of the baseball team. He pretty much decides whether the runner is safe or out, and if the pitch was a strike or a ball. And he officiates on-field rules and makes judgment calls, which leads into his personality type, which is ISFJ. I'm just playing. He kinda gets a reputation for giving foul plays, which makes people low-key hate him, but he's extremely defensive about his calls. This manifests into him having a suit of armor to defend himself from his ops. Anytime someone disagrees with him, he gets extremely defensive and condescending, which people find rude. And he doubles down and never lets up. In his personal life, he recently broke up with his girlfriend when she asked him to get married, but he has commitment issues or something, so he got super defensive. This leads him to present day, where he's doing online dating. We've all been there, Frank. We've all been there. I love the representation of online dating as a video game. That part was super cool. But after calling a teacher's conference, Vanessa helps him break out of this rut that he's in, and teaches him a very important life lesson. That the first step is to admit that you're wrong and that you made an error. Then it's never too late to make the right call. Damn Pixar, you're 2 for 2 with these life lessons. This causes Frank to run after his ex, but he's too late. She just got into another relationship. But damn, she got a ring on day 1. That man must be loaded. That better be a promise ring, because if she was that quick to jump ships into marriage, you low-key dodged a bullet there, Frank. I got you, Frank. A couple brewskis and some more swipes on Tinder and you'll be on your way. This happened to me again, but as I was editing this video, the next 2 episodes came out. I think I'm so used to shows coming out on Thursday or Friday, so when they come out on Wednesday, it trips me up every time. This happened during my Spider-Man video too. In retrospective, I'm actually kinda glad these next 2 episodes came out, because it provides a lot of context, and there's a lot I didn't realize from just the first 2 episodes. Anyways, so episode 3 and 4, let's talk about it. Episode 3 follows Rochelle, and she has a small issue. She needs to find a method to get funds for her softball season, so she picks up a part-time position at a snack shack. Here is where we first see her alter ego that everyone has. Her brain manifests her into a girl boss, you could say. When she finally gets enough money, the coach lets everyone know that they actually need way more, so her debt goes up crazy. Then Vanessa, Rochelle's mom, gives her some nice cleats to celebrate her accomplishments. She then spends the rest of the episode creating this scheme to essentially help others cheat on homework and tests for money. That's when the events of episode 2 happen, where Frank catches her cheating. So to come up with the last $200, she goes on the internet and tries to sell her gift. But when she arrives, this dude bro actually wanted to plot to ransack the snack shack. Try saying that 3 times fast. But in a moment of realization, she bolts out and tries to contact her mom. This cliffhanger would have been deadly, but luckily for us, episode 4 came right after. This is also where I realized that each episode penultimately ends in them at the time of the championship game, which is beautiful writing in my opinion. Episode 4 follows Vanessa, Rochelle's mom, and to be honest, before this episode, I found her to be a little weird and gave off that quirky girl vibe that some Disney projects have, but after watching this episode, I was pretty wrong, because she became one of my favorite characters. So her arc starts with her losing her job, which we actually found out last episode, but she told her daughter that she quit to save her embarrassment. But although she had a really rough day, she still shows up to her daughter's game, where we get introduced to her manifestation, which is in the form of her internet personality. All of her loyal followers and people that tune into her swirl around her as little hearts and follow her around, wherever she needs them. Low-key, I wish I had this manifestation. Where are my followers at? But she tries to look for a job, which she actually finds one. Good for her, I know it can be tough out here. Then, after realizing that the cheat sheet that Frank gave her had the same writing as the baseball Rochelle gave her, she kinda goes ballistic and goes full mom mode, trying to figure out what's going on with her baby girl. Which leads her to Tom, that opens her up to her real Instagram, since she was using a cover one for her family. And after finding her location, she sprints to the party from episode 3. Then she gets a call from a phone booth. And after some crazy anxiety-ridden back and forth, she answers, and is able to pick up her daughter at the nearest gas station. A good way to end off the episode, to be honest, and now we're halfway through the series. These 2 episodes low-key got me excited for the rest to come, so if this video does well, I will most definitely be making at least one more win or lose video when all episodes are out. I definitely have more of an appreciation for the series now that you're able to see all of the arcs come together, and if it stays true to time, Pixar does not fail when it comes to storytelling. Except Lightyear and Finding Dory, but we don't talk about those. Anyways, back to the outro. And that was everything I gathered from the first 2 episodes. Honestly, pretty freaking good in my opinion. I'd recommend this to anyone that's below the age of 18, and if you're above 18, just know that this was not made for you, but there's some sprinkles of stuff there for you. And if you just want to watch it for the beautiful stylized animation of Pixar, that's there as well. This was the first fully conceptualized series on Disney Plus that Pixar has made that wasn't tied to another movie or something that's pre-existing. I don't know if there's a plan on making more series like this in the future, but I do know that there was a spin-off planned for this show that was already cancelled. So I know there's some rumblings going on at Pixar. What do you guys think of the series so far? Love it? Hate it? Let's talk about that in the comments. As always, if you want to see more of this show specifically, please voice yourself in the comments. I do read all the comments. And if there's a lot of you that want to see some win or lose content, I'll put it on top of my priority list. But other than that, if you like the content that you see, please consider looking through my channel. There's a catalog of videos waiting for you. If you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe. It really does go a long way for a small YouTuber like myself. As always guys, my name has been Punky Yoshi, or Alberto. I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye bye.